Okay. So last class we discussed especially what are the outcomes of this course and the definition of AI. So I gave you definition of AI from the perspective of the Russell Norvig book as well as the recent definitions of modern AI. And I also discussed about how Indian philosophy has also surmised or made a conjecture of what an intelligence which should perform without emotions look like. Okay, that we also discussed. So today we will have the history of AI. So when I say history of AI, we say mostly the Western concepts, right? Western history. Okay. So, but at the end of the slide 2, I will give you some of my own propositions where I want to say that we can also, see, this is a version of the AI that was developed by referring to Aristotelian syllogisms. Okay. And later around 1950s onwards, they have developed this field. Okay. But this field is so common with the Indian philosophy that I believe that we can have a parallel branch of AI which starts from the Upanishads in Indian philosophy. So nobody has tried that. If you in future, if you work on that, you may think about that. See, every field is born out of some idea, okay, which at their own time were utterly rejected. Okay, so you may try to think about it. Towards the end of the slide, you will see how it is planned in our country. Okay, I will see you that. First three lessons are, as you don't have, majority of you don't have any exposure to AI as a subject. So first three lessons we are actually discussing what is AI, how this AI has been developed, the term, and in the next class we will see the applications and risks of AI. Okay, fine. So we'll move to history of AI. Okay, so you can write down today's topic in your content page as well as your notebook. So I suggest you maintain a content page where you write the date and the topic discussed. So last class we discussed introduction and course outcomes. Today, 23rd July, we are discussing history of AI. Okay. So this version I have taken from this Russell Norvig book. Okay. Okay. So I think the older versions are available online, but it's a huge book. Generally, if you want to have more knowledge on AI, you can go through this book. And every point that I discuss here, there is a big description in that book. So if you want, you can go through that, but it is only the background, not relevant to what you are going to study. Okay. So the first one is foundations of AI. You just write these keywords. One, philosophy. So as I have told you, they started with Western philosophy and developed the concept of AI. But nobody has yet attempted the development of AI based on the Indian philosophy. It has not been done yet. There has been attempts, but it has not been done yet. But we can also have another version in a different way, right? So here philosophy, they actually mean the Western one, which mostly started from Aristotle and Plato. Okay. So the questions were, can formal rules be used to draw valid conclusions? Okay. Formal rules like, you know, the basic syllogism. Man is mortal, Socrates is a man, so Socrates is mortal. So these are formal rules and syllogisms. So can such type of rules be applied to everywhere? Can formal rules be applied to everywhere? For example, IITians get good placements. Okay. Now, if you apply this to every person who is joining IIT, is it applicable to them? No. It's like that. So we cannot generalize. So formal rules are fine, but it cannot be generalized. So it has some limitations that we will see in the second module, where we see knowledge representation and reasoning. Then how does mind arise from a physical brain? So we discussed the brain is nothing but matter. So how actually the thought is developed inside the brain, how mind arises from the brain, and this mind is different for different persons. So here they say human beings are the most dangerous animals on earth because of their mind. So you can never predict what the other person is going to do, right? Where does knowledge come from? We just discussed slightly that there are two methods. One is from experience, known as perception, perceive. Okay. The other one is conception, that is already inbuilt in us. Okay, intuition, conception, and there is a famous statement by German philosopher Immanuel Kant that listen to it. Percepts without concepts is empty. Concepts without percepts is blind. What is the meaning of that? So if you have a lots of theory without any practical, you are actually blind. You don't know what is happening. You cannot understand. You have read about electric arc furnace, but you have never seen it. So you will never understand it. Okay. Similarly, percepts without concepts is empty. Right. So you go on doing practical, but you don't have any background on the theory. You don't understand what you are doing. So that's empty. Okay. So we need both. Okay. We need both. Okay. So we need conceptions as well as, so you have some inherent knowledge, you have some inherent skill, you have some inherent capability. Okay, Messi can play good because he is gifted. Who is the other one? Amal, Spain Raju, the famous. Yes. So he is gifted, right? It's not possible, right? All of us have different skills. Okay, that is, we can say, concepts. But then just intelligence cannot do. India also has very good football players, but we are not making it to the World Cup. Why? Because training, experience, maybe the system, that is some issue. But we also have talented players, right? So both is required. Next is, how does knowledge lead to action? Okay, whatever we have developed, how does it lead to action? So these are the questions, those were posed to the philosophers. So Western philosophy has a different direction of developing it, and Indian philosophy has another direction of developing it. Okay. So when I say Indian philosophy, I am actually talking about Upanishads. Okay, you must be knowing Upanishads are the source of Indian philosophy. I am not talking about any religion or something, all these Puranic stories and etc. I am not talking about that. I am talking about the pure Indian philosophy, we started from Upanishads and culminated in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. That part I am talking about, which is logical. Okay, not religion. Okay, so we started with this modern concept of philosophy. We discussed about Thomas Hobbes, who imagined the concept of that man is also a machine. Okay, so Descartes, you use Cartesian system, right? Cartesian system you use Cartesian, polar. Cartesian system was developed by Descartes. Okay. So he says, part of human mind is outside of nature, exempt from physical laws. So there is some part of our mind which actually no laws apply. That's why human beings are so unpredictable. Okay. Empiricism. So empiricism means experience, practice. So only perception is important. Some philosophers, they say that it is rubbish. We don't have anything in between when we are born. Everything we learn from experience. So that is another set of philosophers. Then came this concept, philosophical concept, logical positivism, which says knowledge characterized by logical theories only. Only logic applies. Okay. Then confirmation theory, utilitarianism means everything that is good for human beings, that only should count. Right? That only should count. Everything that is good for human beings, or everything that is good for an organization, that counts. Nothing else. Okay, but that leads to problem. So where there is no profit, nobody will go. Right. The next, the final one is deontological ethics of Kant. You explore it. Okay, it says that means end does not justify the means. Just because you are saying that you will achieve something good eventually, so you have to what? Follow these strict rules, etc. That's not allowed. Means should also be justified, not only the ends. Okay, that is, you can explore it. Okay. The second point, you're right, mathematics, of course. So when we say AI, mathematics earlier was the foundation. So what are the formal rules to draw valid conclusions? What can be computed? So there is one, there are some concepts in mathematics as well as computer science known as, one is NP complete. Okay. Okay. NP complete, non-deterministic polynomial complete. Okay. So there are a set of problems where it is very difficult to find the solution. But if you find solution for one problem only in that group, you can solve all. Okay. These are very hard problems, NP hard problems. These are known. Okay, you can explore. The computer science will apply for them. Okay, the other one is intractability. Intractability means a problem where you go on trying different steps and you find a solution, but eventually you get confused. Okay. So my whole point is that what can be computed? Everything cannot be computed because there are certain problems which are NP complete, there are certain problems which are intractable. Okay, in fact, the physical laws cannot be applied to a social system, which is this universe. So just mechanical and physical laws cannot be applied to a social system where humans are involved because there is so much of uncertainty. There is so much of uncertainty. So there is a, if you have time, you can go through that. Black Swan. Okay. So there in the Black Swan book, the author says that you cannot predict. Forecasting is impossible because to predict the future, you need certain amount of future in the present, which is not possible. Right? That's why it is uncertain. So you see, every time, whatever you have forecasted for yourself, it has failed. You are in a different situation that you have forecasted 10 years back or 5 years back. Okay. And also the same will happen again. If you are expecting seeing yourself somewhere after 10 years, actually you won't reach there. You will reach somewhere else. It is the very nature of the world, of the nature. It is uncertain. We cannot predict. Right? So what is the approach? The approach is having different alternatives. Don't say that mu khali IS clear kariki rahibi, aau kuch karibi. Not possible. You cannot predict. So have different options. If you get a job in campus interview, join it. Then prepare. You should have multiple options. Right? Gotte jinsare tame kebe fix karibani. Okay. So other parts were formal logic. Formal logic ame dekhiba next module re. Probability, statistics, algorithms, incomplete theorems, tractability I discussed, NP completeness also I discussed. Statistic probability, you know, statistics means we analyze the data. So nowadays, data science meaning on. It is statistics told in a different way. Data science, right? Statistical concepts programmed is known as data science. Third point, economics. So there were some economic concepts which were applied to AI. What we are discussing here, we are discussing what fields have contributed to AI. The first one was philosophy, the second one was mathematics, the third one was economics, right? So here, what is economics? How should you make decisions in accordance with our preferences? Not applicable to human beings only, applicable to a society, applicable to a nation also. How should we do this when others may not get along? Okay, how a country should progress when many are against this progress? So that is known as economics, by providing certain incentives. Okay. How should we do this when payoff may be far in the future? What we discussed that the most of the human development happened only in last 200 years. It is because of these concepts to accept that payoff is in future. United States, why it is so technologically advanced? Because they allow people to make mistakes. Okay, now we have also recognized that in DRDO also they are planning for a separate cell which is allowed to fail. If you are not allowed to fail, so our system gone. If you are doing something means you have to succeed. It's not possible. Okay, payoff might be in distant future, and this has resulted in many innovative solutions that we are using now. Everything is a chance discovery, and everything is because of several failures. Okay, so it started with Adams's Wealth of 1877. 18 or 17, you check it. This is wrong. It's not 19. It's the old one. Okay. Wealth of Nations, I think 17. I think. Okay. Maximum expected value, decision theory, game theory. Game theory is a concept where it's not about games. Okay, not game playing. Game theory is about, say, two people are playing a game. What is the nature of the game? Whether both will win. Win-win situation, win-lose situation, something like that. Okay, it's a completely different subject, a complete course. You can have one such course in NPTEL. That is one. You can know what is game theory. Then operation research is behind everything management. Okay, markup decision process. Markup decision process mane hochi state transition. It says that suppose at 11 a.m. it is raining, and at 12 a.m. what is the probability of raining? Say 90%. Then you will say at 1 p.m. what is the probability of raining? It will be simply 0.9 square, 81%. So that type of thing is known as markup decision process, where there is only one fixed transition matrix. Okay. Then another concept is satisficing, making decisions that are good enough. Neuroscience. So this is the most popular version of AI, popular concept of AI. Right? Every time you think of AI, you think about something related to brain. Somebody is experimenting on the brain, but this is only a part of it. Okay, that is neuroscience. How the brain functions. Neuroscience is the study of nervous system, particularly the brain. We will have a detailed discussion of this in module 5, where we study neural networks. Brain enables thought. Brain enables thought. Though the exact way is unknown. You see, though the exact way is unknown. Now, in future, when you have free time, go through the Upanishads. Okay, no originals. Translation is available. You will find Upanishads provide several theories how brain is actually enabling thought. There are actual real theories, but they are unaware. These authors may be unaware of that. Okay, so somebody needs to put forth all these concepts. That this has already been discussed earlier. Okay, but we don't have some way of representing it and attaching it to the field of AI. Okay. Then this electroencephalograph. I think you brain logay so you study karan. The old one. Then MRI, functional MRI, brain machine interfaces. I think recently they have developed some kind of chip which will enable this physically disabled people to work, right? Some kind of chip is there which will make them work. Assistive technology or something they say. Okay, so that is brain machine interface. So just means somebody's limbs may not be working, but just by the functioning of the brain, he can move some artificial limbs. Okay. Psychology, of course, psychology. How do humans and animals think and act? Okay, so these are some controlled experiments, animal behavior studies, behaviorism, only experience counts. Cognitive psychology views the brain as an information processing device. So it says, psychology says brain is only an information processing device. Okay. Then intelligent augmentation. Computers should augment humans. It says that computers should not replace humans, rather they should augment humans. Okay. And finally, of course, computer science. How we build an efficient computer. So the first computer was the difference engine or the analytical engine by Charles Babbage. Then Ada Lovelace created many, the first, she is known as the first programmer. Okay, first programmer. And in her name, there is one programming language known as Ada. Sunicho? Ada. Ada programming language. So if you happen to see Ada programming languages, note that it is named on based on her. Then electromechanical Heath Robinson built by Alan Turing's team. Colossus computer, the name of the computer on vacuum tubes. ENIAC, ENIAC is the famous computer. It's filled the whole room. Okay, one such computer which was used at the University of Pennsylvania. Then came Moore's law of computer science, which says over time there will be increase in speed and decrease in size, which is happening. And now we have got graphical processing units. Okay. Okay. Next is control theory. Okay. Now cybernetics, control theory and cybernetics. Okay. So how artifacts operate under their own control. So such a cyborg or cybernetic device is under its own control. Modern control theory is known as stochastic optimal control. I think you have control 1 this semester, next semester you will have in control 2. So you can find their control theory. Okay. Calculus and matrix algebra. AI was founded in a way to escape this. Okay, so you won't find calculus and matrix in AI studies. Okay. Then about the public the possibility of artificially intelligent machines, self-regulatory feedback control. This is one of the control systems. Okay. Okay. ये जो हमें feedback control कहले, so any हमें CS1 start है नहीं? Okay. Linguistic. So linguistic, how does language relates to thoughts? Okay, so I told you last class that the languages we speak actually determines the boundary of our thought. That's why they say the more languages you know, the better your thought process is, the better the boundary of your thoughts. Okay, because see, I told you that differences between Indian languages is not there. The mother is one. So I'm not talking about Indian languages, but when you say English, one Indian language and maybe some other foreign language, and if you are learning that, and actually you are actually making your brain capable of thinking beyond some boundary that is set by your own mother tongue. Okay, so that would say, because see, if you don't speak any language, why animals cannot think? Because they don't have a language. Only when you have a language, when you speak, sometimes you sit quietly and meditate and try to think something. You will see that you will think only in your language. Okay. If there is no word for something, you cannot think about it. You cannot think. So there is nothing like you will think about something and there is no word for it in your language or the languages you know. It's not possible. You can't. Okay. So many Western authors also, they refer to Panini's grammar. You know, all Indian languages, the grammar is, the original source is Panini's grammar. Okay, Sanskrit grammar. Then there are some books on this. So modern linguistic and AI grew up together, intersecting in a hybrid field called computational linguistic, or they call it natural language processing. Okay, so now we are in a world where it is actually available. So if any YouTube videos you see, you can see the subtitle automatically translated. Okay, it is not perfect, it is translated. You can talk to Google when you are traveling. You can simply give a command, it will process that. So that is known as NLP, natural language processing. Understanding language requires an understanding of the subject matter and the context, not just an understanding of the structure of the sentences. तमरा दीटा पिला हॉस्टल ले मारगोल लगुए एमती झगड़ा लगुए जी जान नथियो बाहरु दे विल थिंक कौन एगला पिला झगड़ा लगु देखला समान एमती कथा होतुए boys hostel I'm talking. Okay, you will find that they are fighting. Actually, they are not fighting. They were simply talking. So you need to know the context to understand what the language speaks. Okay. Okay. So to know the history of as we know today, we have to see this list. It's a summary. So these are the founders of the term AI. Okay. John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky. You will find these names when you go through the AI field for defining the foundations. Okay. Then Newell and Simon together for symbolic models. Then Feigenbaum and Raj Reddy for developing expert systems. Then probabilistic reasoning techniques. Then deep learning. So this is the progress in past 5 decades. Okay. So this is how the AI progressed. We started with one conference by these four: Minsky, McCarthy, Newell, Simon, I think. So they created the term AI. Then it progressed. Okay. Then any AI book you go through. Okay. So this is the basic 5 topics: reasoning, which is our module 2. Symbolic models we don't go through that. Expert systems, probabilistic reasoning, deep learning. Deep learning माने होची neural networks with more layers. So then the chronology, how it started, the years. Okay. So as you see here, first was 1943 to 56, called the inception of AI with Alan Turing. Okay. Then came, I told you, the conference where actually the term AI was coined by these four: McCarthy, Minsky, Shannon, and Rochester. Okay. Then there was a program known as Logic Theorist, okay, which was developed by them for solving simple problems. Then, as with any new technology, there were lots of expectation. Like the early years of AI were full of success in a limited way, only small problems. Newell and Simon's early success followed up with general purpose solver (GPS). Then came the physical system hypothesis. What is the physical system hypothesis? It says a physical symbol system has the necessary and efficient means for general intelligent action. Any physical system you develop, it will behave like humans. That was the concept then. Okay. At IBM, some early AI programs are created. Okay, and all these things. Okay, these were the early expectations. Okay. Then a dose of reality. So all this that they developed worked on simple problems, but not on real world problems. They did not work. Okay. So confidence was due to promising performance on simple systems. Okay. However, they failed miserably when tried on wider selection. See, they failed. So the Western culture or society allows failures. So nothing happened. So they failed. But still they bounced back. Okay. Early programs did not know about subject matter. They succeeded due to only syntactic manipulation. Just syntactic manipulation, they succeeded. No, they did not know about the domain. And all this combinatorial explosion. Yeah, mane hochi, the size of the problem grew very big for practical systems. Okay, there was with many uncertain variables. Okay. So fundamental limitations of the basic structures. So they concluded that such physical systems actually cannot be AI. It's not possible. Okay, you cannot just give a fixed hard-coded program to a system and it will work like humans. It's not possible. They realized that. Then came the expert systems. So here, the knowledge of the experts, domain experts, like medical doctors, etc., they were hard-coded into some programs, and they was quite prevalent in the industry. Okay, but they failed to have this return on investment (ROI). Okay, so you can go through that. Soon after, many expert systems failed to deliver extravagant promises. Okay, it turned out to be difficult to build and maintain an expert system for complex domains. The return of neural networks. Okay, so initially there were neural networks, but they did not work then. Now, what changed in 1986 onwards? Okay, algorithms were same, but now we have very capable systems, computers with lots of computational capacity. And the other one was, what changed? The other one was big data. Other one was big data. Okay, what is big data? Large amount of data across social networks. You see, speech, videos, vehicle tracking, social networks. So many data is available, and these AI companies are actually training their AI models on this data, which are not hard-coded physical systems. Okay, so why AI worked now when it was failed earlier? Because two things. One is it is the same algorithms that they use then, but now we have lots of computational power. Okay, we have GPUs. Okay, and second one is we have lots of data, which they get for free. Right? We provide them for free. Like a country like us, 1.5 billion people, so we give our data free. And in fact, you must have heard about some lawsuits. Some book authors have provided lawsuits against big companies that they have used their books for training the AI model without their permission. Okay, there has been some cases now. It is coming up now. Okay, okay. So deep learning is the latest. Okay, so all these uh, traffic cameras which capture images, okay, and give a fine, helmet fine, etc. AI cameras. So all are based on mostly deep learning. Okay, neural networks based models. Okay. Next is, can machines think? That is the concept. Okay. So weak AI and strong AI. So strong AI is building persons. Weak AI building machines that act intelligently without taking a position whether or not the machines are actually intelligent. Right? This can be a question in your exam. Difference between strong AI and weak AI. And read about it. Okay. See, this is my addition that you go through this. So these are actually all the concepts that they are working on, but nobody is aware that there is a set of literature which discuss all this. What is consciousness? What is intuition? What is intellect? Okay. What is subjective reality? What is objective reality? Difference gone. Gravity. It's an objective reality. It's there. Whether you say that I won't accept that gravity is there, but still gravity will be there. Okay. But he thinks that he is not a bad person, then that is in his mind. It is up to him. That is known as subjective reality. The concept of you, for me, is the subjective reality. That is not necessarily what I am or what a person I am. So that is known as subjective reality. So whether AI, the reality it is creating in his mind, is it subjective or objective? So that they need to think. And we have all this concept of ultimate reality. See, this is in our so this is the history that we discussed based on the Western philosophy. So this is one idea that we won't discuss this further. So this is my idea that these are the 5 literature that is actually the basis of Indian civilization. The first one, Upanishads, discuss all this mind, matter, reality in detail. Then this Brahma Sutra is actually what it did. It simply said small sutra. Sutra means small slokas, or you can say 2-3 words. Okay, but it was not understandable without commentary. Then came the Bhagavad Gita, which elaborately and very nicely explained what was there in these two. So this is actually a summary of these two. This is a summary of all Upanishads, but this is not understandable. So therefore, this summarize this, and all discuss about the concepts that now they discuss in AI. Okay, weak AI, strong AI, what is a person, how they should think, what enables thought. Okay, all these things. Now these two are the, as you know, these epics are translated into all Indian languages, and they are the foundations of Indian philosophy. Okay. Now, okay, so this is, don't talk about modules. So this one course I developed, so forget about the module. So these are the 11 principal Upanishads. So if in future, if you find time, go through it. Okay, you will find many concepts that they are discussing now in AI. Okay, I have just put it for your reference. Then, so those were the Upanishads. Then we have 6 systems of Indian philosophy, which we have now textbooks of AI based on Western concepts only. Now somebody may find out the relevant concept from these 6 systems of Indian philosophy and create a new textbook. based on the Indian philosophy, and still we will reach there. Okay, it's not yet explored. So for your okay, so now I am saying that whatever I have told you, the ideas, they are actually implementing it. So Central Sanskrit University has created a new B.Tech from this year. So that is B.Tech in AI and Data Science, provided by Central Sanskrit University. Okay, so they will mostly do uh, NLP, natural language processing, manuscript reading, and all those things. But eventually, they will go in the path that I was just talking to you about. Okay, see, the medieval Europe was successful in developing the modern science. Physics, chemistry, what we read is developed in medieval Europe, right? But AI is, so we cannot recreate the wheel. Okay, we cannot rediscover the wheel. So it is already done. But the field of AI is a concept. Okay, that is actually resonating with what the Upanishads talked about. So that field can have a parallel branch, and therefore this type of courses are now being created. Okay, so this is the history of AI that you have seen from the early conceptual conceptions in the Western world, as well as how it is there in our philosophy also, but yet unexplored. Okay. Okay. So next class we will discuss the risks and applications of AI.